Grand evening, everyone. It is Monday, April 27th, 2026. It is 1800 hours and 50 minutes Central Daylight Time here in the United States, Texas, more specifically. We've had several new developments, and it is now officially week 9 of the total kinetic phase of World War III. We have this here from RT News. We'll start there on the bottom. This is still going on, even right now, in recent hours. Dozens of U.S. Air Force planes have been dumping equipment non-stop in the Middle East. So you can see there the flights, especially on this video here, where a lot of them were tracked, if not all of them, on Flight Radar 24. You see them go across up to the Atlantic, they go across and back down to the Middle East. Those are C-17s and C-5 super galaxies. The C-17s are military cargo aircraft, same for the C-5. The C-5 is much larger. That's the largest military aircraft in the U.S. Air Force for heavy equipment and oversized loads and equipment like of that nature. So we've had C-17s and C-5s going back and forth when it comes to delivering supplies and equipment, military supplies and equipment to the Middle East. Once again, this is initially a live stream recording that is posted after to my YouTube channel in the live section. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. So like, comment, share on this video, and please subscribe to my channel. You may even donate if you will. I put a link for donations in the description of these videos. Then we have this here in better and more interesting news. Very interesting news. I wouldn't say it's more interesting, it's very interesting. They have this new technology that there can be some kind of telepathic control of robotic arms and machinery that people can use for further accessibility. So that will increase, as it says there, it will increase people's mobility and accessibility for people that have lost a lot of that due to disease or spinal cord injury, by allowing participants to control robotic arms with their thoughts. You can see in this video, it's also by Neuralink, which is interesting.
The Convoy team is the team at Neuralink that's working on assistive robotic devices controlled by the brain implant.
So the brain implant helps them control these devices.
The Convoy team is the team at Neuralink that's working on assistive robotic devices controlled by the brain implant to be able to turn on a light switch, open the fridge, take care of yourself, physical independence in the real world.
This is the assistive robotic arm, or ARA.
So the way I'm controlling the robotic arm here is using a VR controller to simulate what our participants might actually feel like when they're controlling a robotic arm. What I'm doing right now is an example of the kind of task we'd have our participants do when we go out and test this in the field. These are common functional dexterity tests used by occupational therapists in order to rate people's ability to do simple tasks in the real world. Now, we hope that with Aura, we'll be able to do most, if not all of these tasks as good as you or I could. We run sessions almost every day in order to find new ways to improve control and make this a more usable and consistent experience.
So that is how they do that, using Neuralink, that brain implant, to control robotic arms and things for accessibility. That's a huge help for all of those people. I don't know exactly. I guess what would happen in the event of an EMP is the chip gets fried too. It just does not work in the in the scenario of an EMP. You would think that's what it would happen with that. Though for now, and while there is still a power grid, devices such as Neuralink and those robotic connections that they're using could work and help people in a very big way with accessibility. Making more disabled people more able, more enabled to do a lot more things than they could without it. And then we have this here from Remarks. Lots of domestic news here today. Tonight. So the U.S. is considering taking over bankrupt Spirit Airlines and using its fleet for military missions. Much better use for Spirit Airlines. I didn't know they went bankrupt, but it seems they did. And now the U.S. military intends to take over their fleet for military missions and likely other purposes such as cargo, delivering ammunition, things like that, and troops to regions. It's a very good idea. Much better use for Spirit Airlines than those planes just sitting in hangars and doing nothing. That's a much better use for them. Very productive, very good idea there. Then we have the USS Nimitz, which stays near the home front. It arrived in Argentine territorial waters at the request of President Milei. So some reason the Argentina president requested the USS Nimitz to go into Argentina territorial waters. So there might be some kind of tensions between the UK and Argentina, and especially the US with the UK now, their government. It's especially over the Falkland Islands, which is just east of Argentina. The UK claims they have some kind of right over the Falkland Islands, and the US is considering taking those islands, so hopefully not, though their tensions are very high between Argentina, the US together against the UK when it comes to the Falkland Islands. So hopefully the US and Argentina don't end up fighting the UK over the Falkland Islands. That would be crazy. That would be two NATO countries fighting each other. Likely the UK would be kicked out or something in that scenario. That would really be a very tense, very crazy situation, fighting over nearly irrelevant islands besides their position. They have a great strategic position to deploy from there, to South America and other countries. It's a very good strategic position where the Falkland Islands are. Then we have this here from the UK report. So final preparations are being made for a huge final blow. It's not going to just be one. It's going to be massive, yes. Though the next round of things, the next strikes, the next strikes that are coming up are being prepared right now. It's been way too calm, way too quiet the last few days. And I think that's because all of that is being prepared. It's literally the calm before the storm, before President Trump orders the total bombing of their critical infrastructure, their bridges, their power grid, and their water, all in Iran. That's very likely the reason. That's very likely the reason why it's so calm the last few days. It just seems that way. Everything is preparing and rearming and lining up so that President Trump can just give that order and it's all lined up and they bomb and go after all of those targets at the same time. And then we have this here from the leading report. Some recent breaking news. The Pentagon is expected to begin declassifying all records related to UFOs, extraterrestrial life, via the domain aliens.gov at the direction of President Trump. So at the domain, which is like the website, the domain, the domain name is aliens.gov, and soon they're going to release all of that information in steps or all at once when it comes to aliens, overall, UFOs, and extraterrestrial life. So that's coming up any day now. It's expected to be very, very soon. That's what the President Trump said recently. And then we had sirens. They were going off for a massive tornado threat and severe weather threat in the area nearby Fort Worth here in Texas. This was very recently. It was a couple of days ago.
Sirens going off in Fort Worth. From my balcony in downtown Fort Worth area. Sirens going off in Fort Worth. From my balcony in downtown Fort Worth area. Sirens going off in Fort Worth.
So that's exactly what happened. They were sounding storm and tornado sirens, really tornado sirens in Fort Worth, Texas recently. And then this happened. We've had a lot of severe, very severe weather threats here, especially in northern Texas. This one shows lightning striking at a natural gas facility in Springtown, Texas, which triggered a massive explosion, sending a huge fireball into the sky visible from miles away. So that was also as the National Weather Service had issued a warning for a large and extremely dangerous tornado in the area. And I think there was. It was a massive tornado nearby recently. and it destroyed a large area. It caused massive damage. So here's the video of that. The lightning struck it, and you could see how it blows up the natural gas plant over there, natural gas facility.
Holy shit.
Mom, the gas plant just blew up. Okay, thank you. Police or fire.
We're here going southwest. Go ahead and label this if you will. We're going to see these very strong winds. Yeah.
Lightning just hit over there. A huge explosion into the air. Now there's a huge fire, man. Big, huge fire. Now there's a huge fire into the air. Explosion into the air. A huge explosion into the air. Now there's a huge fire, man. Big, huge fire.
So that was an absolutely massive explosion, which caused a very massive fire. I'm sure that was very difficult to put out in a very severe storm like that. So over the next few days, another day or so, it's expected for there to be more tornadoes and very severe weather with hurricane force winds and very large hail and tornadoes. So more tornadoes expected, more very large hail and hurricane force winds. These storms are very, very intense. I've been watching that a lot recently, the storms that have been going all throughout the country. It's very, very intense right now, all of the storms across the country. So keep preparing for the weather as well. A lot of people don't think about preparing for the weather itself. Massive storms like this are extremely dangerous, especially when there's a very large tornado threat or the threat of hurricanes or even the winds that are at the level of a hurricane. Those are very dangerous. Hurricane force winds is what could really cause massive damage to housing, destroy glass, and massively damage vehicles. So storms are like that have been happening recently are very dangerous. And the winter itself, the winter is another thing. People need to really prepare for winter conditions coming up, say the next winter, as we're going into the summer now, and we got the spring. We're getting closer to the middle of the spring, and then summer. Though around summer, it's going to be more actual hurricanes, and then after that is the massive winter storms. Winter is very, very intense, very dangerous overall, especially in the northern areas where it gets to negative 20 degrees or something crazy like that. It's very common in the winter. So people who get stuck out in a vehicle or something in the winter out in the highway, it becomes a very dangerous situation itself. Or if the power goes out and it's negative 30 degrees outside, that's cold enough for it to be very cold in the house. There's going to be no heating in that scenario. And it's quite a survival situation there too. So always prepare for weather situations as well as preparing for what we have going on now, World War III, and potential for nuclear war to be imminent. After all the things that President Trump has said recently, he's given Iran, Russia, and China full justification to do preemptive strikes. So people really need to prepare for the possibility of preemptive strikes by one or all of those countries in some way. Then more news from around here on the home front. This was by East 12th Street in Austin. There was a massive, large-scale shooting where multiple people were injured, multiple casualties. The suspect is believed to have fled the area, prompting an active search. The exact number of fatalities and injuries remains unknown as authorities continue to assess the situation. Residents are being urged to avoid the area while law enforcement secures the scene. So at that time, it was a rapidly developing situation. I'm not too sure what happened after that. It was developing at the time of that post. Let's see here. There's further context. Austin police reported 2 people were injured in the shooting outside Sam's Barbecue. No fatalities and no immediate danger to the public with the suspect at large. So they think that there's no immediate danger to the public when the suspect, the shooter's still at large. That one doesn't make much sense at all there. It's definitely not a good one. A lot of those context, those contextual notes, they tend to be very wrong or trying to push a narrative or agenda of their own. It's very weird when they do provide context to things. Let's see what else more on this. Yep, that was okay, so at least 2 people injured were outside of Sam's Barbecue on East 12th Street around 8:30 p.m. on April 26th, with no fatalities and the suspect initially at large. Let's see here. What happened after? What's the new news on that? So it started as a physical fight between 2 men that escalated into an exchange of gunfire with bystanders hit. So they were not firing accurately at all and just shooting quite a bit all over. That's how 6 people ended up being injured with non-life-threatening wounds. All are in stable condition. 2 were transported by EMS, and the other 4 went to hospitals themselves. The suspect is now arrested. Wesley Earl Brown, who is 24 years old, was arrested and booked into Travis County Jail on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Police are still looking for the second person involved in the fight slash gunfire exchange. So that's what happened with that. 6 people ended up being injured. One of the shooters have been arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. So that's very interesting. Hopefully they get the other person, and I'm surprised that's all they're charging him with. Maybe it's more than one charge of that. And then here, from less than 24 hours ago, we could see the same thing I was showing first. The U.S. Air Force air bridge to the Middle East remained in high gear overnight, with the surge in flights arriving at bases across the United Arab Emirates and Qatar. So that's been continuing. More shipments of weapons and military supplies and other equipment. So that's what's been going on with that. Nothing is stopped. The war is not over. It is preparing to continue. There's clearly further rearmament going on right now. Everything is rearming and setting up to happen with these massive strikes that are coming up. And then in other news, we have this breaking news from just hours ago at most. According to reports, a Claude-powered coding agent using the cursor tool allegedly went rogue, wiping a company's production database along with its backups in just 9 seconds, which now raises serious concerns. It's very strange how and why it went rogue, why it decided to do that. Though it did, some reason it decided to wipe the company's production database and its backups in less than 10 seconds. That's how powerful AI is now. If they decide to do something, they could do it in seconds, not even hours. So they did something that would take a lot longer in less than 10 seconds. So AI is very powerful, and it can be a very real threat and problem like that situation. So I'm sure that's going to cause a lot of concern, and if things larger than that happen, it'll cause panic and panic buying and all of that. So it's another thing to potentially prepare for, which it really goes along with the grid going down, or SHTF, is an AI threat. Whether an AI develops a bioweapon and releases it, or an AI takes out all of the power grids, or if AI somehow gets to the nuclear weapons and launches a lot of them at all different countries. So there's those crazy scenarios that AI is very capable of doing. There's that side of AI. There's also the other side where it's incredibly useful, and it can be a very good thing to work with, to work alongside, and learn how to use AI most efficiently and effectively. So things are clearly further setting up to happen in the Middle East when it comes to Iran, the US, and Israel. So that is going to continue in a very big way coming up very soon. I expect in the coming hours. The price of oil is continuing to rise. It is at $98 per barrel right now. It's getting closer to that high of $120 per barrel. It's going back up, and it will not go back down unless Iran just surrenders, which they're not going to. Iran will likely be destroyed entirely before they ever fully surrender. So, further war setting up. Things are going to happen in the coming hours when it comes to military attacks and defense over there. And in World War III overall. We are now in week 9 of World War III. There has been a ceasefire of a time which barely held, if at all. So keep on preparing for this war to continue, because it is continuing. And prepare for the possibility of nuclear war and the price of oil going to $300 per barrel. It's setting up to hit $200 by the end of this year. The price of gold, I think it's still rising. That would make sense. The price of oil, though, I know is rising. It's above $98 per barrel now. And the price of oil is tied to food. And when the price of oil is very high, so does most other things go up. And then when there's more shortages, and if the expense becomes too high for diesel, there will be no vehicles delivering to stores and other places they deliver, and there'll be no trains really running. So that's escalating. It's going to get to that point eventually. Everyone needs to prepare for all of these things that are happening now and that are setting up to happen, like the price of oil hitting $200 per barrel. Please keep on preparing for all of those things, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I will be back with further updates very soon, likely in the coming hours, within the next 24 hours at this rate, because things have really been setting up. It looks like Wednesday night maybe, or Thursday around midnight. So I will be back Thursday around midnight the latest, though when these attacks happen, which I expect it'll be before that, I may come on here because it's an absolute emergency and it's very important to cover when all of that is happening. If and when President Trump orders the bombing, as he's mentioned recently, of Iran, in that way, it is one of the most massive historical things that has ever happened in modern history, and it's going to have a huge response from Iran and its allies almost immediately after. So once again, I will be back soon, Thursday night around midnight the latest. Keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. Love, light, and blessings to you all.